session. Namaste, Namaskar, madam. Now, well, before introducing Professor Uma Chattopadhyaya, I would request Professor Pramod Das to carry on the moderation session and also take on questions, if at all left, for Professor Maraji after the talk of Uma Chattopadhyaya, madam. So, introducing Professor Chattopadhyaya, madam, she's a retired professor in philosophy from University of Calcutta. She has a long teaching experience at various levels, and she's much known for her publications, and she has even toured outside for certain academic assignments. And her areas of interest include Indian epistemology, metaphysics, philosophy of language, philosophy of religion, applied ethics, among other disciplines. Now, it's a long list. I would like to request Professor Uma Chattopadhyaya, madam, to speak on epistemology and human personality. Over to Professor Uma, madam, for the talk. Welcome, madam.
Namaskar to everyone. After a long time I'm coming to this program. Today I was a little bit late for some technical problem. But whenever I could join the program, I heard one single word that is very much interesting to me. I'm coming to that point later on. But first, let me introduce the topic on which I am to speak, or I am to make my own observation to you all, to have your experience or your ideas. I want to get that. That is epistemology and human personality. Epistemology and human personality. The title is given by you. Professor Pramod has given me this topic, and it touched my heart. Epistemology and human personality. With this idea, when I am coming to join the program, I heard one sentence, one statement from my previous speaker. Very nicely he was presenting his paper with many informations. There he told one statement, I may be wrong, that epistemology is little bit psychological. Psychology and epistemology has no such difference. It's a part of psychology. If I accept this position, then I will not be able to enter in my discussion. The whole discussion will be futile to me. Where my position is to show that epistemology is so basic, and it is different from psychology, totally, absolutely. Psychology deals with the part of mind, the status of mind, the different functions of mind, etc., where we can take into consideration also our pleasure, pain, cognitions, as such, how they results, etc., etc., and the process of that. But in epistemology, this is a very small part of psychology, no doubt, because in epistemology, we make the discussion of mind, and nowadays it is very large analysis are going on mind-body relationship, what is mind can be resolved in brain, or etc., etc. Cognitive science has come in the area of epistemology. Even then, we have the reason to understand that mind is different, or study of mind is different from epistemology. Study of mind is a psychology, while study of knowledge or cognition is epistemology. In West, the Western philosophers are very clearly, they give the name epistemology. But we do not use the word epistemology. This is very, very important. Subtle difference is there, and very deep difference. We say not the epistemology, but we say pramana shastra, or shastra on prama. The very word itself is important. It is pramana shastra. That means study in relation to valid cognition. I am very consciously using the word cognition, not the knowledge. It is the study of real cognition, true cognition. Because we have different alternative versions. According to some schools in Indian tradition, cognition can be true or false. According to some, cognition is always true, mimamsa. There is no falsity. According to some, there is no possibility of cognition, Shunyavadins. No possibility of cognition. So this is a very large, it's a vast canvas where we can find all the alternatives, all the alternative theories in relation to cognition. And the study in relation to cognition is called epistemology in West, but our word is Pramana Shastram, or the Shastra on Prama. Pramana, pro, ma, and onot. These three together means the instrumental cause of knowledge, valid knowledge. And pro, this prefix, ma means the root, means the true cognition. So we are very much concerned about the true cognition. True cognition, but what is true cognition is a very difficult question. Philosophers have given different definitions. But before that, one important point is why I'm giving importance to cognition, and what is the relation with cognition, the personality of human personality. The title is given by Professor Pramod. I was really enjoying when I saw this title. That what is the relation between epistemology and human personality? Epistemology is a phenomena of cognition. Epistemology or Pramana Shastra is a subject in relation to cognition or knowledge. So it is something in the knowledge sphere. And the personality, the human personality, it is in the realm of fact, or it is in relation to the human existence as such. Now, when we say the personality, the human personality of X or personality of Y, we do not mean to say the traits of the person. We have both the sides. We know from psychology that we have traits as well as we have this personality. Traits, different traits we have. At different times we express our traits. But personality is something comprehensive. Chattopadhyaya was seen at one time with the personality. The same Chattopadhyaya now today is present in the same personality. The personality is not something very changing. It is something always with the person. From the youngster till his old age, the personality little bit changes. We find what we change consciously, but generally the total personality is not totally changed. Some personality we say they're very crude personality. Some personalities are very much loving personalities. Some personalities are very thoughtful personalities. Some personalities are very much quarrelsome personalities. We avoid. So in this way, we define different kinds of personalities. In the same way, we find believer personalities and non-believer personalities. And all these things, all these different personalities are very, very important in case of human existence. Because human beings are not in one form. We cannot say that every individual being will be like 2 + 2 = 4. Every individual is different from other individual. Some similarities are there, that rationality and animality. But only that rationality, they go for the cognition or the knowledge. Rationality is a term only I use in this way. But human beings are always, from the early age till he has the consciousness, he has the cognition, he wants to know, he wants to comprehend the reality, the existence near or far, whatever that may be, and accordingly he behaves. Now this cognition In the Western philosophy, we find this cognition is discussed from the Socrates period, from the Platonic period, till that they are giving so many alternative theories of cognitions. And we find a drastic change in the time of this Italian Renaissance, when science was very much became predominating factor, and philosophy was made as in the model of science. So the philosophers Locke, Berkeley, Hume, Spinoza, Descartes, etc., they all, even including Kant, wanted to make cognition just in the style of science, because science became the predominating nature, predominating factor in the society, and the whole society was impressed by science. With science, either the deductive mathematical science or by empirical science. Both the sciences were very much important. And from that time, we find even in Kant that knowledge is what? Knowledge must be informative and also at the same time necessarily true. Informative and necessarily true. That is possible only in case of physics, etc. So that knowledge is knowledge, otherwise all knowledge, so-called knowledge, are only futile. Futile, that is a belief, that is our intuitions, that is kind of our peace of mind, belief relation to religion or God, etc. This is only whatever we like to feel. This has no significance when we come to the Kantian philosophy. But now, I make this question, supposing if there is so much problem in relation to this cognition, I am to ask this question to the Western thinkers or to the Indian thinkers. If we make this question, if epistemology is nothing but psychology, epistemology is nothing but epistemology gives the knowledge like science, and science is the only paradigm of knowledge, then it is better to deny the existence of knowledge. We deny the knowledge. What is the utility for accepting knowledge as an entity of life? Knowledge is an entity. Why this is so important in our life? Supposing there is no knowledge, the facts are there. The problem is this, we shall call it, then there will be Jagadandhatta Prasango. The world will be in the dark. If we start from this possibility that there is no knowledge as such, absolutely vacant. So if there is no knowledge, no debate, no definition, no classification, no question of validity, no purview, no limits, no cause of validity, etc. So many questions will be dissolved. No Kantian philosophy. Synthetic a priori judgments are the real knowledge. No such debate will be necessary to make that this knowledge is acceptable, that knowledge is not acceptable. We accept intuition, as Professor Hamid was telling. Yes, but this intuition is not accepted by many. Your intuition and my intuition are totally different. If that is the case, then what is the sanctity? What is the validity of that knowledge? Yes. So all these questions will be dissolved, deny knowledge as such. Like that crude Buddhist philosophy. No knowledge. But is it possible for the human being? Even for the animals, birds, etc., as Professor Hamid was telling, that birds were learning, and they have their own language. And some teacher was giving the lessons. This we learn from the scriptures, and very, very important, all these shastras and the scriptures. That learning is always going on. Knowledge is always going on in different stages, in different states, and particularly when it comes to the human relation, knowledge becomes very important. If there is no knowledge as such, knowledge is absolutely denied, then the Jagat will be the world, the existence will be absolutely dark. Andho means absolutely dark. No possibility. No possibility. Nothing will be there. Everything is there, but we do not know. Everything is related on my knowledge. If Tagore is a Nobel winner because we learn the poems, we learn the songs, because we have knowledge. So we could honor him. We can honor so many persons because we know his creations. His performance is determined by our knowledge. Somebody can perform so many things, but judgment is given by us. We, the knowers. So we know. And if we do not know, if I do not know, if you do not know anything, then no communication is possible. Nothing can be communicated. And relations will be totally, all the relations will be broken. No relation between the human beings, no relation between the human being and the animals or the plants or the creatures or the world or the existence, nothing. So it is an impossible statement to accept. So knowledge cannot be denied. And as knowledge cannot be denied, then the question is, what is the status of this knowledge? Knowledge is to say, knowledge is not the part of psychology, but knowledge is the primary existence of reality. Before metaphysics, according to many schools, knowledge is to be accepted. And many of you know that in the Sutra, the first aphorism of Gautam, Nyaya philosopher, is giving this Sutra, Pramana Prameya Sankshaya Prayojan, etc., etc. Tattva Jnanat Nisra Shadhigamo. Pramana Prameya. The Praman is the first category. Pramana means knowledge. And knowledge means epistemology. We are coming to this. If there is no Pramano, no question of Prameya. Prameya means object. So in Western terminology, Prameya means the study metaphysics in relation to the object. Object analysis. Object, whatever will be the nature of object. If I do not know, how can I describe? What is known to me, what is unknown to me, can be decided when I know something at least. I could know this much, but I cannot know what exactly is the nature of God. But I know this much, that this may happen from the books, from the literature, from the Shat Purusha, etc., etc. These are the possibilities. Then I can think for that. I can work onward. Then I can have the direct cognition of God. But I should know something first. Narendra, from the example Ramakrishna was given before, taking from that place, I can see that Narendranath, our Vivekananda, he was a very, very intelligent, but very, very intelligent, very bright boy, came to Paramhansha with the query that what this old person is doing there in Dakshineshwar, and speaking so many words to so many people. Let me see what exactly is happening there. With deep curiosity, he came there. And he wanted to know, this is important, what the person is telling. But that knowing was, the story, that was only by this look. Without speaking anything, without asking anything, just by looking to the person, so many things came to him very clear. Then he started to ask questions. But all these questions were known to Paramhansha. But Narendra will ask him. This is very, very important. So how the person is knowing the other person, how the person is asking the question, they may be different from each other. But the question is the question of knowing. It was primarily known to Narendra, that some person is there with some specialty. I need to see him and I need to examine the person. What exactly is the person? He had the primary knowledge of Ramakrishna. And with the primary knowledge, he went there. And if it was absolutely blank, no curiosity regarding Ramakrishna, as we have all the time. So many, even I believe that even now in India itself, there are so many important, these persons are there. They are so highlighted. They are so important, so they are Siddha Purushas. But I do not know them. Little bit knowledge I don't have. So I don't go there blindly. If I can have some knowledge with the curiosity, then I can move on. So knowledge is primary knowledge or secondary knowledge or third grade knowledge, fourth grade knowledge. I need knowledge first. Without knowledge, I cannot move an inch. Knowledge, therefore, is first. Knowledge is not part of psychology. Knowledge has its own existence, own standing, and it is the primary root of whole existence. Once I make my knowledge as a weapon, then by the knowledge it is the torchlight. I can see the promeos, padarthas, objects of the world. And then by the interactions, I have the desire of accepting the object. Some objects, I can have the desire to disown the objects. All the time it is happening in our life, accepting or denying. This acceptance and denial of the object in the world makes the personality, human personality. So, what is the result? So, epistemology, through the metaphysics, makes the personality of the human being. Human being is a blank in a sense. With some sanskars, some dispositions, a baby comes to this world. Then by his knowledge, by his knowing the world, by the environment, he learns so many things and his personality develops. Either good personality or bad personality or mischievous personality, whatever that may be. But by the knowledge, through the knowledge of the object, that means the total environment, the personality of the individual is groomed. Personality we find. And in this world, as we find different personalities, very snobbery, very much what can be said that making everyone belittle the habit of the person. Doing higher secondary in science, a student thinks that he is a scientist. He ignores the humanities students. Can you imagine? I think you all will imagine that. A student doing this physics or chemistry in the higher secondary course and a student doing this Bengali or Hindi honors or English honors, whatever that may be, that student of this science thinks that he is doing nothing. Humanities, social sciences are nothing, zero. Just see the personality. He starts with this ignorance. He does not know what is there in philosophy or in English literature or in Hindi literature or in Sanskrit literature. And if he hears that someone is doing...
আমার ব্যাটটি দেখেছো একবার বল
বাবাকে বলো so his personality has become like that due to his own knowledge. He is hearing from his home, oh right, you are so bright, you have got science. Your friends, they are not able to get that. This is due to the information. Wrong information was given to him and wrong personality or unacceptable. Wrong personality, we cannot say unacceptable personality. That personality also is changed when he comes to the big world and see that so many theoreticians are there, social scientists are there, so brilliant scholars are there. Then he comes to know that higher secondary physics is nothing for the world. But he is to learn philosophy. He is to learn so many subjects. And he is to ignore that higher secondary physics or chemistry. No, that may be the basic. And the personality will be changed. This happens when someone knows the things of the world properly, through the proper cognition, proper grooming, the personality changes. When the personality is changed, then also some kind of similarity, some traits are there, some absolute change is rarely possible, and it was possible in case of Narendranath. The absolute, that is also not absolute because he had all the possibilities. It got only the proper source or the proper grooming or the proper teacher. This happens. So epistemology, we cannot say first, my first point is that it is the very basic, and from our awareness of epistemology proper, we can know the world properly, and by that interactions, by that observations, by that knowledge, by that cognition, we can make our personality, or it is naturally our personality take its shape. Now, secondly, I come to the point to show or to discuss here that when I come to the Western epistemology, I see that in Western epistemology, they are very much concerned about science. Scientific knowledge is the knowledge. If a knowledge is not able to touch science, this is not knowledge. If someone is getting knowledge by sadhana, then the so-called Western philosophers will say, this knowledge is not the proper knowledge because I am not able to understand that knowledge. I can understand the knowledge if the knowledge is... Sorry, don't do that. No, but I'm having my... No, we will do it later on, but don't do that. You just search. Don't do that, beta. So, the point is this, that in Western tradition, if you come from this Socrates period to the... till that science always is keeping its role, and now technology has also come with science, that as technology can show you so many things which were beyond our imagination, and we find that science therefore is very strong, and the scientific knowledge is the real knowledge. So this scientific knowledge always is a paradigm knowledge to the Western thinkers and those who do philosophy with these Western thoughts. And that knowledge either is taken from this in the, what can we say, deductive or inductive. Deductive or inductive, either mathematical knowledge, pure axiomatic knowledge, or this inductive, the knowledge based on empiricistic experiences, knowledge based on experience. So the whole natural science, the empiricistic knowledge. Natural science means, this natural science, we know that natural sciences are physics, chemistry, zoology, botany, history, and geography, or maybe all the sciences. I mean, let me do this lecture. My grandson is now searching bat. So grandma is to find out the bat just now. So his search is for the knowledge of bat. Only yesterday he got this bat. So he is in search of that bat. He needs the source of knowledge. So, so this, we have also the same thing, we are searching knowledge. Now, this knowledge, in the Western tradition, we see that their knowledge, they are searching knowledge. The knowledge, they give much more importance to science. So if science, knowledge is given by the science, there is no question as such. And the science can be of the two different types, the deductive and the inductive. And therefore, in considering the deductive these deductive deductions, so many logical systems they have developed. And when that is saturated, they have the modal logic, that not only true and false, but modality, or that this alternative, neither true nor false, something doubtful, that is also possible. It is the saturating point of the mathematical logic. Even then it is continuing. But when we come to the natural science, that is, in natural science, the knowledge is always hypothetical, and finally it is skeptic. But they have touched the different kinds of knowledge, the perception, inference, even memory according to them, analogy, all these sources can be used. But they have not given much importance to all the sources of knowledge. How the knowledge results, or the definition of this, all the different kinds of sources, their limits, their conditions for validity, their importance. So this natural science, we have need for both. Mathematical science we honor, also we honor the natural sciences for our daily behavior. And we believe perception, we have inference to do these natural sciences. Perception, we cannot say it is nothing. We can perceive only limitedly. Perception is, as I was listening the sentence, the perception can be false and true. Perception can be false and true, no doubt, but we have the checkpoint to understand when the perception will be not false. In all the systems, even the Charbak school, those who are absolutely this Pramana believer, they also admit perception. Perception is the original or the most important first Praman, and it is known as the Jeshto Praman. Jeshto does not mean the Sreshto, that means the best, not that. But Jeshto means the first Pramana, on which the other Pramanas are dependent. They are dependent does not mean they are also false, no doubt. That's not the point. But we need to start from the perception. Perception, therefore, though may be false and true, there is the possibility, but perception we need to accept. And if we do not accept perception, we cannot go to the inference, cannot go to the this analogy, or go to the arthapatti, this postulation, or cannot go to this anupalabdhi, non-cognition, etc., vaitijjo or shambhava, etc. All these other pramanas will not be possible if we do not accept perception. So perception is a source of knowledge. But only perception, if we want to accept, as Charbak has tried to prove, only the perception, other pramanas are not important. That position is not acceptable, we know. But these pramanas are focused. So many literature written on these different pramanas. On these different pramanas to show that how much these pramanas are important. How much, why we need to admit the pramana, each and every pramana. And many philosophies, in one single system we find, for example, in a case of perception, the Naya school, the Mimamsa school, all the schools are giving importance. There are different ways they are giving their definitions and giving their analysis and fixing the nature of the perception and also showing which kind of perception will be acceptable. In the Naya school, they admit the Laukiko perception and Alaukiko perception. And this Alaukiko perception does not mean something spiritual or something unacceptable, something this ghost-like something. Not that. The wrong idea people have. It's all Laukiko, which is not Laukiko, ordinary. That is Alaukiko. It is some technical relationship there is for the Shanikarsha, in the case of Shanikarsha, so that is alaukika. But they have to admit alaukika perception for some knowledge, because objects are known, and that known object cannot be explained if we do not accept the alaukika perception. So laukik perception, alaukik perception. Then also inference. Every pramanos are given very, very importance by the different schools, because pramanos are important to know the objects of the world. And they have shown, for example, in case of Upaman, it seems that analogy is a source of knowledge. Is it possible? To a Western philosopher, they only admit in case of induction, they show analogy. That is not the pramana in their context. But in our Indian philosophical tradition, it's a rich tradition on epistemology and metaphysics. Even now we admit that upamano is important. Upaman pramana is so important that we cannot deny. For example, when the kind of these herbal plants, I want to search a particular herbal plants. I do not know the nature of the herbal plant. And someone when says that it is like that, like another herbal plant, which is known to both of us. You go there and you will find this. I go and I find, and then I come to know, right? Oh, this is that herbal plant. Oh, right, this I heard from the person. So in this way we identify. This identification of the object is not possible by perception or inference or by Shabda Pramana or etc. Because this object is the object what I know previously from some person. So they say, Gabayo Padobacho. This animal is Gabayo. Gabayo, bison, which is named previously by my friend. This is, but a question comes that why you admit this peculiar type of pramana? It has no need. Yes, it has need. It gives my own living conditions proper. When I search something and the object is not known to me, only by perception and inference it is not enough. Sometimes I come to know by the analogical knowledge, by upamana knowledge, according to the Nyayikas and Mimamsa. This is also a very interesting feature, that the two schools in Indian tradition, they are so stalwart, the two schools. Only these two schools, they admit upaman praman. They are very rational, they are realistic, they are not idealistic like the Buddhist idealist Vijnanavadins or Advaita Vedantins. They are absolutely realistic school, they are rationalistic school. Pure reason is their source, their path maker, but they admit upaman pramana as an independent pramana. It has impact on our personality. It has impact on our life. And as it has impact on our life, so it has impact on our personality. If I have the upaman pramano, I can accept so many herbal plants on the basis of this. My skeptical doubt will be resolved. And because I am applying this upaman pramano. So our world becomes much more bigger and more scientific. I'm not only to do the inference that this is so, that must be, the sun will rise tomorrow in the east. Today sun, I saw the sun yesterday, and so tomorrow the sun will rise. David Hume himself made this skeptical doubt. Who has given you the guarantee that sun will rise tomorrow in the east? It may not rise. Yes, that is the point. Who told you? But that inference is admitted in our system. That inference is not done in this way. We have some checking point. And the philosophers, they have given the checkpoint as well. How to check an inference in becoming invalid inference. What is the checkpoint? They have given the Nyaya school, the Mimamsa school, particularly the Nyaya school, they have given that if you can be certain that there is no Vetirek example, you can make the no contradictory example, you can make a proper inference which will be valid, absolutely valid. The deductive validity, what you get from the deductive inference will be like this. So what is the harm? Why do you think, Professor Hume, that it is only a kind of inductive inference and it will only lead to skepticism. No skepticism. Skepticism will be checked. We can check skepticism. All our pramanos are necessary, and necessary, some are for the ordinary objects, some are for the more what can be said, more metaphysical objects, right? Shabda pramano is accepted for many things. And this is to see that Shabda pramano is accepted for the existence of God, no doubt. But these philosophers give importance to life and this epistemology in such a way that they say, yes, Shabda pramano, as Professor was speaking, so far I heard, that in the Quran that is there, etc., etc. Here also, in Shabda pramana, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, or in the other sources, the Vedas, we find the existence of God is given. But the point is this, they will say, the philosopher, see, you may not accept my literature. If you don't accept, then come to the logic. And so Udanacharya has written his Nayakushumanjali and has given immense inferences to show that without accepting the existence of God, you will not be able to move an inch. So come to see the literature and do the argumentation. And if argument shows you that there is no existence of God, then you deny. My literature is there, so I have deep belief and respect. But when you are a skeptic, I have also the instruments to give you the props through my instruments of epistemology. And this kind of epistemology we have. So we have confident personality. We make ourselves in the Indian context much more confident. So it has deep imposition, deep influence our epistemology has in our ordinary life as well as in our extraordinary life, personal life. So our epistemology is used in the kitchen, in the drawing room, in my official life, in my academic life, in my other more important, very personal life, spiritual life, maybe. So our epistemology, we can't deny that epistemology. Without knowing God, we cannot only worship God, God, God. No. I should know first, primarily. What is that? If I don't deny, if I don't accept, what will be the harm? Is there really the question of getting some peace and pleasure from that? No Shastra, no literature will convince me, because I am a rational being. I want to understand that from reason, rationality, and also by the sources of knowledge, proper sources of knowledge. And for that, we have strong epistemology, which has deep influence on us, on the human personality. And so you can find those who are doing much more empiricism, they are the non-believer. Non-believer, no God, not only that, nothing is existing which is beyond experience. But they never care to think that how much you know by your own experience. Experience is very limited. Just at this moment, we all are in a particular room. We are sitting with the our seminar, so we cannot see what is happening there in other rooms. So this is our knowledge by experience, or the impressions. So limited, so limited. With this so limited knowledge, we never move. We have different sources of knowledge, different pramanos, different pramas. And altogether, maybe 10 pramanos are accepted, and on each and every pramanos, very important, very deep concentration is given. We are not so much, we take into consideration psychology, we do epistemology. In consideration of mind, with deep discussions are done by on mind in Shankho school, in Naya school. And we fix the role of this thing, and also in case of Buddhist tradition. But that mind philosophy, psychology, cannot consume epistemology. Rather, epistemology gives some chance to psychology. So those who do proper this philosophy studies, they do as a part of the psychology. Not those who do psychology, they do epistemology. But those who do epistemology, they take into consider only some part of psychology to know the physical part of the mind. But the inner part of mind is known in philosophy itself. So philosophy, therefore, all comprehensive, and philosophy, therefore, is focusing on epistemology first, and the sources of the knowledge is so important in philosophical tradition. And India is giving much more importance to that. And by that epistemological system has deep impression in molding our personality, in giving flavor to our personality, in giving to our confidence, in giving to our peace and pleasure of life. Thank you. Thank you so much to all. Namaskar. And my deep obligations to this group. Very nicely you are organizing the seminars. And we
Thank
can
you, madam. Thank you. Dr. Rao, will you speak something?
Just I will hand over the microphone to you, nothing more. Okay. So,
okay.
Well, towards the end, madam said 4 to 5 important points, but towards the end, while taking the Indian perspectives, she talked of various sources of knowledge, but I thought by taking the Indian epistemology, she should have ended up with the Vedantic perspective that to know is to become. That's
yes, I am adding that.
Sir Das for carrying on the moderation.
Yes. I shall appreciate the talk of madam, and at the same time, I shall add something if madam allows me to add.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Very systematically, madam is trying to explain that our knowledge is our identity. If philosophy is the way of life, our philosophy defines our life, our philosophy defines our personality, that philosophy includes epistemology also. Because about which I am convinced, I take the support of epistemology. When I am asked, how did you know? Then I take the help of epistemology. Why do you believe in natural science? Because I believe in perception. Why are you a rationalist? Because I believe in reason, rationalization. Why you are a mystic? Because I believe in intuition. So the way we live, we take the help of epistemology as its support. But the problem is that in Upanishad also it is said that either you know or you don't know. You choose one. Suppose you do not know, that's all right. There is no problem at all. But don't have wrong knowledge. Don't be misguided. Don't be biased by a wrong knowledge. Therefore, in Upanishad it is said that the avidya is better than aparavidya. If you do not know the address, that's all right. But if you go on a wrong address, then you will come back to the center, then you can go in the right direction. So wrong knowledge, misguidance is worse than no knowledge. So if you do not, so have the personality of Socrates, that a man should be dissatisfied with the acquired knowledge, that I know nothing, because I can't know. I know nothing. This is a very humble expression of a good personality, because you can't know. Don't take a perspective as the whole content of your knowledge. That I just gave the example of a Jaina system. Don't take one perspective as the total gamut of total content of your epistemology. Take a perspective as a perspective. Yes, from the perspective of perception, this can be said. From the perspective of intuition, this can be said. I shall add one thing. It is pramana which is accepted as the valid source of knowledge. In Indian philosophy, we call it pramana. Perception, inference, comparison, verbal testimony. These are main valid sources of knowledge according to Nyaya system. But very interestingly, as Madam said very beautifully, that psychology studies only the exterior part of our minds, but the interior study is done by philosophy. So if we study yoga system, Patanjali yoga system, then there is Chitta Vritti. There is Chitta and Chitta Vrittis. And these Vrittis are the factors which obstruct right knowledge. And very interestingly, it is there that pramana is the first vritti. That means one should be free from these so-called pramanas. Because the capacity of a mind, the mind is so expanded, the possibility of a mind is so vast that pramanas are also inadequate for having right knowledge, for having the knowledge of the complete perspective. Therefore, Lord Krishna exposed the Vishwarupa to Arjuna. Because the vision of Arjuna is a personality. You see how a peculiar personality is Arjuna. Arjuna is defined as his personality due to his epistemology. Arjuna was not a fool. Arjuna was highly educated. Arjuna was highly skilled. Arjuna was a great warrior. Arjuna has prepared this fight for 13 years. And he was with Lord Krishna. That means he was with a very great professor who can do PhD in one day. So, being with Lord Krishna, Arjuna was confused in the battlefield, and this is the personality of many people. In spite of our knowledge, or in spite of our biased knowledge, we get confused in the real field of life. So then what is the solution? The solution is that we should believe in science. Science, in which sense? Science speaks of relativity. Therefore, we should believe in the relativity of epistemology. As Jaina system said, yes, there are different sources of knowledge, but each source has its own limits. Each source has its perspective value. It cannot define the whole reality. Therefore, there are different sciences. Because every science studies some part of the nature. One science cannot study the entire part of the nature. Therefore, there are different sciences. Philosophy is one, but there are sciences are different. And one science is inadequate to explain the entire reality. So the point is that we should have that mindset, that mind can understand the relativity, that these, any perspective we say, we may speak of epistemology naturalized or many modern concepts of epistemology, and also old systems. As yoga system rejected all pramanas as chitta vritti, similarly all the modern and old sources of knowledge, they are true, they are valid only from a perspective. And science also admits this. There are different instruments, tools for different mechanisms. We can't do everything with one tool. Similarly, epistemology, and I told in the first session, epistemology is only a human attempt. The person who is really wise like Socrates, he will say, I know nothing. Because nothing can be known by a limited human mind who claims that he is very rational, very scientific, he is a great philosopher, but it is his madness. It is his madness. So that is personality. And I shall not speak that, because it will be like mystical. When we say that I am Brahman, I am that pure consciousness, this is not epistemology. This is such a state of wisdom that man lives accordingly. Therefore, he can see everything in him and him in everything, and he lives a Vedantic life. There are so many examples. Take the example of Vivekananda, Aurobindo, the great persons. They live what they believe. They live what they believe. So our epistemology should become our way of life. Thank you. Thank you, madam, for your very lucid and clear presentation. Now it is open for discussion.
Sir, before just discussion takes place, just one explanation, if I am.
Yes, sir.
MashaAllah, it was very good lecture, and I also was very much happy to listen about this lecture. There was one misconception. I was just, because I always do whenever I just present any paper or anything from anywhere, I always give reference from different sources. I was just referring to my source about what Western scholars say about that. I do accept this. My view is that epistemology is very holistic in our case, in Eastern Oriental way. In the Western context, they consider that epistemology is nowadays a branch of psychology, but I don't believe in this. I was just referring to a book where I mentioned about that also. So because I do give lecture offhand, I always prepare well. So I have given the both references. So there was a little bit misconception, but whatever you said, I accept that. You are right. And our viewpoint is that epistemology is not limited to psychology. It is whole way of life. And it's intertwined with the metaphysics, ethics, astrology, and eschatology, and everything. So it is a well-knit subject in our context. But in the Western context, it has been just fragmented. And you are right in that. Thank you.
I shall say only one thing. Both of the speakers missed one point while delivering their talks. That our mind should be open. Madam spoke in that way. Our mind should be critical. Critical thinking is also part of epistemology. That we should not take the slogan of epistemological naturalism or Vedantic way of knowing or perception or inference. We should be very much critical about it. That means no epistemology is the final asset of human knowledge. So our mind should remain open to all possibilities. Then we can know. That is the secret of knowledge. If our mind is closed, if our mind is not open, it is locked somewhere, then the possibility of knowing is lost. But you can't know. So therefore, from the dogmatic slumber, we have to wake up. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. If Vedantins said that one day you will become Brahman, they say, we say, but once, the moment you will become Brahman, you can't claim it because you have merged with that truth. That is the point. Thank you. Ranjit sir, will you speak something?
Am I to give my understanding as a
Yes, madam. Madam, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Hamid, that we are in the same platform we are thinking. And my another very heartfelt thanks to Professor Tripathi that you were explaining that yes, I admit your position that when we become Vedanta, follow the Vedanta path way, so knowing means becoming. Yes. Professor Aurobindo Basu, he was Aurobindo Ghosh, became the Sri Aurobindo. Was of this opinion. To know means to become. So roughly speaking, when we in the ordinary life we are knowing, we are becoming. In the very, very gross sense, no doubt, but we are becoming. Silently we are becoming, and knowing means we are becoming, because one is bookish knowledge to know the lines, and other is to understand the knowledge within myself. And when I understand
correct, madam, correct.
Within myself, then I am becoming, I am changing myself all the time. So it's absolutely correct. So if once I can make myself to that level, I will become Vedantin. Vedantin, this step is the highest step of life. So the Nyo or the Mimamsa will not deny the position of the Vedantins. It's a very tough position, but they have to start from one stage to other. Because if someone is ready to reach to that position, Vedanta position, it is very good luck. But as we are limited beings, we start from our limited knowledge and we are aspiring for that. You know, in Sarvadarshana Sangraha, Madhvacharya, therefore, finally has given to Vedanta, showing all the systems, because it is the highest system of knowledge. To reach that, you are go through all these paths. So when we do Nyo or do that Mimamsa, where in the ordinary life we are doing philosophy, but we have in our mind that we have to reach to the highest position. Our sadhakas are like that. So they come down to us. As Aurobindo told, that when you become, you can come down. We can come down. We can mix with very ordinary persons. Any persons of the road, because we know the art of living from our philosophy. Very simply, we are ordinary. But one thing is this. Another point, Professor Tripathi, with all humbleness, I am telling. And he has given us the idea of argumentative India. No. Argumentation is the very basic in Indian tradition. The Indian people are always argumentative, and you have the knowledge about that sentence. Paramato pratisiddhyam anumatam. If I am not able to discard by logic the other position, then I have to accept the other's position. We are so critical, but critical not in the destructive sense. Criticism does not mean to us to destroy everything, but to catch whatever is good from there. So when I do Nyo, does not mean that I'm denying Vedanta. And all the third point is this, all the Pramanos have their own restricted zones. Each Pramano has its definite objects. I can know that object through other Pramano, but at least one or two objects are important for one Pramano. So Pramanos are many in number. If I admit only perception, many things cannot be explained by perception. Inference also is like that. So they have their own objects. So we need the Pramanos because world is full of varieties. So many things are in the world. So if I admit these 4 Pramanos or 5 or the 6 Pramanos, I should have the ability to explain, give you the information through all these 5 Pramanos. So all the points that you have raised, Professor Tripathi, very nice, very good. And my humble position is this. And Vedanta I respect, we all respect, we cannot deny the existence. And it is our most important ambition of life to reach to that position where I have only the feeling of this. I have nothing to say, only I am the Brahman. I am that reality, the Satchita Ananda. But that we are not all the time getting. That is our search, maybe. That is also not known. Anyway, thank you. Am I able to give you the...
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Ranjit sir, please give your suggestion, observation.
No, thank you, Professor Das. One thing I should say, that we cannot put epistemology and psychology into watertight compartments. Epistemology is based on psychology at certain times, and psychology is also cannot make itself epistemology free. Because when we are talking about the human personality, the different traits of different categories of human personality. When we say somebody is average, somebody is reserved, somebody is self-centered, somebody is a role model. So these are all based on our epistemological position that we understand from our own point of view as well as from the social point of view. Because you see, personality is a combination of physical, mental, and social in an integrated manner. So social, when the question of social comes, the social epistemology definitely is required for the understanding of human personality. This is just a small thing I want to add. If Professor Chattopadhyaya is having something to say on this, she may respond. Thank you.
Can
Thank
I
you, sir.
respond? Can I respond?
Yes, sir. With pleasure.
It is very interesting discussion is going on, and it is enhancing our understanding about many things. And I feel that when we see things in a comparative perspective, we are in a better place to appreciate the niceties of our own doctrines sometimes. And I feel that in the Western context, everything has changed now. We have to believe that, because they don't believe as we believe. We know that. But no, there are some people, they believe like us. But most of them, they have their own understanding, especially philosophers, in most cases. Now they have just reached to postmodernism and the absurdity and the theater of absurd. After the existentialism, much has changed. So my point was basically that we need to have our own understanding of issues, but in a comparative perspective. Unless and until we present the views of the opponents of these views, we are not able to make them win our side sometimes. Maybe there are many people, when they realize that we have a very good epistemology, and that is very holistic, that is very integrated, so then they become very much influenced. As for example, in case of, you have mentioned about Upanishads. For example, Schopenhauer, when he came to know about Upanishads, what he said: these are the solace of my life and my solace of my death. So until and unless we are able to put things in a comparative perspective, I think that we may not be able to win our people to our side, which is needed this time, because there is a lot of misconception about different perceptions about even epistemology. About perception, there are misperceptions. So in this way, this I should say, a comparative study and study like this as we are doing, and I'm very happy that you are doing a very great work, and different perspectives are coming at one platform, and then people like Professor Das and Uji Saab and others, they are just intervening, and in this way our new generation can be enlightened and they can understand their own thoughts in a better way. So I appreciate and I congratulate you for conducting such very fruitful and thoughtful sessions. Thank you very much.
Professor Maraji, shall I add one thing?
Please, most welcome.
Thank you. Now what you said, that compels me to speak something. That is, our problem is that we are free. Our freedom is our asset. That should be our asset. But man suffers from his own freedom. Because you are free, you have your autonomy, you have your free choice to be convinced by your metaphysics. That means you are your world. Your world is your world, and you are so much convinced from taking the help of scriptures, teachers, your past experience. By hook or crook, you are convinced means you have constructed your thought system and you have built your world to live in. That is bondage. Don't be that. Critical thinking means don't build your dogmatic world and live your whole life, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 8 years, one day we will die. We are counting our days, but we are building our cage so strongly with our philosophy. Therefore, in 2 days before in a conference, I was telling that our philosophy is our bondage. Don't make your philosophy as your bondage. Why I am saying that? What you said, this is the cause. What you said, that is the consequence. The cause is that we have a freedom. The problem is that we are misusing our freedom. So we should not misuse our freedom. Why should not we misuse? Because we are rational.
Yeah.
If we do not misuse our freedom, then we shall have a very open mind to accept all. That leads to secularism, that leads to liberalism, that leads to critical thinking, that leads to creativity, that leads to humanity, that leads to ethics. If your mind is closed, then all the possibilities are lost in you. That we have to accept the truth that nothing is true. Everything is subject to revision. Everything is perspective only. This is my humble submission. Perhaps
one sentence I want to add. This may be treated as our open texture of thought, which will
yes sir, yes, and that is philosophy, sir, and that is philosophy.
This open texture of thought, Professor Dayakrishna used sometime, and I also believe in that, and that will lead us to the creative thinking and creativity. Unless we are free, unless we free our mind from the systems, from from everything, any bondage, then we cannot progress in our thought process. This is
Exactly.
Thank you. Dr. Srinivasan ji has written that Lord Krishna has not used slang language to Arjuna. Actually, I withdraw that word. It is not exactly slang, but he has scolded. He has scolded Arjuna very roughly, and he is saying the reason of that reaction. That being a rational fellow, you are behaving irrationally. This contradictory personality should not be treated as a rational personality. So our personality should be rational. Professor Maharaji, your last comment, your last response.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Basically, this was a really very fruitful discussion today. And we have been doing these earlier also in our classes at JNU and other places. So, but one point is there that two perspectives were brought together. One was Indian perspective and second was Islamic perspective. And both were presented in a comparative way. And that was very nice in a sense. And if we see that there are different perceptions, they're very common. But terms are different. It's interesting. And this is something, there is something common in the Oriental tradition. And we are not discovering it. We have been discovering Western traditions to a great extent, but we have been totally oblivious about own traditions. That is very strange. And at least we should give credit to the Orientalists. They are just exploring our tradition. Let us have sometimes some Sikh perception, sometimes Buddhist perception, and sometimes some perspective from Muslims and then other communities, Jains also. And this
yes, sir.
Form a very, I should say, holistic platform.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Actually, into a great, reawakening of our youngsters. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Professor Chattopadhyaya, madam, your last comment. Your last word.
Oh, I want to, right.
Yes.
I'm so happy with the first seminar, this program. Last time also, I had very good experience this time also, that whether we are to start from the critical mind or with some acceptance of truth, that will differ from person to person, school to school, Indian to Western, among the Indians. So always there is difference, and as there is difference, So there is beauty in this world. If all the things are similar, identical, no beauty. So beautiful world, in this beautiful world we are existing with beautiful differences. And if we have our this good eyes, positive eyes, we can find always something very good from that. Sometimes critical methods, sometimes descriptive methods. Sometimes we take into consideration mind in epistemology. Sometimes we keep apart mind from epistemology, according to the need of the analysis. So finally, what is the purpose of philosophy? I think today's discussion, and particularly by these philosophy family discussions, that we can reach to something very positive at the end. Very positive, what satisfies us and what gives us pleasure. That is the most important what we get from philosophy. And we are in the position when we make our discussions, each one, we can convince the young people. Now we have reached to some age, but now we want very bright young philosopher, young stars, young scholars. They will come and will continue philosophy, because without philosophy, no subject will take its own good flavor. So philosophy is important, both Indian and Western. Just Indian, just Western will not, even the Islamic philosophy. Professor Hamid, I am to tell you that I love Islamic philosophy. One time to present Islamic philosophy with Indian and Western philosophy together.
So nice.
So all these schools are so nice. In one Islamic seminar I joined also in Guwahati. So that was nice experience I had. So there is no difference, and then only we can understand the proper sense of secularism. Otherwise, it is only people are uttering the words, but no sense, no meaning, no enjoyment, nothing. Only enmity and killing and hating each other. So this way, this philosophy family, I'm really grateful. I'm obliged by the invitation. I enjoyed, and I think all the participants, they have also enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
To all of you.
Last comment by Dr. K. Amana Rao, and he will give the vote of thanks. Vote of thanks with your last comment, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das. It was a really enjoyable session. Both the sessions were really enlightening. Actually, we should thank both the professors for lectures. And by giving the last comment, Professor Chattopadhyaya said a very beautiful thing, that beauty lies in diversities, and that's truly so. And we have to bring those, see those diversities as constituting something of a unified sort, to bring in. You see the diversities not in diverse perspectives. Rather, you try to see them in such a way that you bring in a holistic sense from these diversities, and there lies the beauty. So when diversities are there, and we discover the unifying thread, then that's all we can do, and that is a human possibility, and that can be done. And if we really succeed, then that would be a great contribution to human life, human society, and humanity at large. And also taking the thread from Professor Maraji, who makes a comparative study of religions, and he takes Islam vis-a-vis other religions, and very nicely his approach was a holistic one. He never restricts his lectures to the Eastern thought. He brings in the Western ideas to see a parity between the two, and then tries to see where they go parallel and how enriched our civilization is, how enriched our philosophy is. So both the talks are really very, very beautiful. And what I enjoyed is the interaction. Well, the comments made by Professor Das, and also his observations on both the topics, and also the intervention of Professor Rajit Ghosh sir, whose presence really makes all the difference every time, because he makes a point that carries forward the entire discussion and brings in certain ideas that are really useful to carry on, to discuss. Actually, he thinks in a novel way, because he was a student of Daya Krishna, who used to bring in novel ideas, in say the ideas in a new way, and that makes all the difference. So he tries to see things in an open mind, without being structured, without being patterned. Rather, he wants to come out of the structure, out of the pattern, so that some sort of creativity, some sort of novelty comes into the discussion, and that's how his participation is becomes so important. And today too, he took in the issues so nicely towards Professor Uma Chattopadhyaya Madam, and also Majari sir, and also Professor Das responded very nicely. And there were certain issues that have been raised by Professor Srinivasan, and also I could see the chat box, certain comments by various scholars, Dr. Chandrika and others. So overall, the webinar was a very successful one, and I should thank both the speakers, and hopefully we'll be planning for more and more lectures from this side. And I should thank both the speakers for giving their valuable time to this family. So thanking both the speakers, I should thank all the question writers, the moderator, Professor Das, for their observations, for their comments, for their suggestions, so to make the entire discussion worthwhile. It was really a beautiful seminar. And also thank all the participants who made really this webinar so successful, so nice. And also thank Professor Krishnamurthy sir for being connected with us. So thanking all, I once again make a request to both the speakers. Please be available for Philosophy Family for the discussion, for the presentations in future. Hope you will accept our invitation.
Always at your disposal, sir. Always at your disposal.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Thank you,
We'll be very much grateful.
Yeah. We are
We'll be very much grateful.
no doubt.
Thank you so much.
With
I'm
this-
obliged, really.
It's really an honor to be with you.
Really. And this is really a philosophy family.
Yeah, you're right.
Where we from different states, we are meeting together in a program.
And then
So
they
nice.
publish also. Then they publish these
And they
articles. That's
publish
very
also.
important.
That is
And this
very
a
nice.
new movement they are starting. No,
Yes,
like
yes,
Vienna
that
Circle.
is-
Vienna
that
Circle.
is-
And also YouTube, sir. Also YouTube.
Yeah.
Immediately tomorrow you can get this on YouTube.
That's great.
So
Now you are
nice,
doing
so
much of a great work. Great
So
work.
nice, so
Great
nice.
job.
So nice.
Okay. So now it is 9:05. So we shall end here. Now this meeting is declared closed. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Namaskar to everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a point to say, but tomorrow, next week's program. Hello?